Hello there and welcome. In this video I will introduce to you in 7 steps my newest high culture build that I've made for you. We're going to go over all the things that you need to know to make it work, with the very first thing being a quick summary. So we're playing here a high culture build that focuses on one side the best things that you can get out of the Storm Giant King, and on the other side the best that you can get out of the Tome of the Stormborn, which focuses around ice and lightning damage this time. So we're going to utilize this condition to its full extent with this build, and well, it is a pretty nasty package. I really like what went out of this. So let's get started with the racial and cultural traits. So keen-sighted is something that I love in the high culture because they feature some of the best ranged attackers in the game. I went for a combination of adaptable and quick reflexes next to be a little bit harder to kill and faster to evolve, but I could see quick reflexes replaced with the magic affinity that gives you 15% more damage on your magic attacks would work very well, because we are very good in spamming battle mages and supporters. So this is what we're using here. Feel free to interchange parts of these to your own liking. The racial department is very flexible to your own playstyle. In the cultural traits though, there's one that I wouldn't swap out: experienced seafarers, because we gain bonuses for coast, river, and water provinces, and the Storm Giants terraforming produces exactly that, which is stupidly powerful, and it happens to be also a source of basic seafaring right from the get-go, so it saves you 100 Imperium that you would need to spend in the early game anyways, which I really love. The enhanced stats on the water are also really nice, because I hate fighting on water personally. And yeah, powerful evokers is something I took because I like it on the high culture. Lots of supporters, lots of battle mages, lots of payoff out of this. But feel free to change that out to any trait to your own liking. I could see runesmiths work well, also the astral traits that focus around spellcasting. There's a couple of them, that's why I mentioned it in the broad stroke. You could go for that as well. I see even the combination of another city, free city interaction out of the order spectrum as a valid choice. Feel free to change that slot, but stick to the experienced seafarers. They're really good for this build. Now let's talk tomes. It's a very straightforward tour, and the wonderful thing is it has even some flexibility at some points. But the starting points are pretty simple. We pick Cryomancy and Evocation. This brings us a really naughty amount of damage. Frost Blades, Frost Arrows, Lightning Blades, Lightning Focus. We really got a lot of unit enhancement going. What's also really worth noting: Lightning Blades, 20% more against Electrified. Frost Blades, 20% more against Frozen or Slowed units. You can get a 40% extra damage on your frontliners. This is really amazing and quite special. I rarely combine elements like this, and I wanted to point it out. White Witches and the Ice Coffin are really good strategical elements. Blizzard is amazing for its status resistance reduction, and, well, you can pretty much skip on the Snow Spirits. They're just not too much of a fit to me personally. Cryomancy School, very big thing. Knowledge Income. Evocation Book. So with the Evokers and the White Witches, we have a really nice Battle Mage axis, which becomes even better with the Lightning Focus. Lightning Torrent, also pretty nice tool for any stage of the game, because, you know, this stacks. We like stacking enemies, lightning resistance reduction. So Channeling Towers, well, if you have the room and the time for them, that's all I can say about that. Tier 2, this is a variant where I see you can cross over into different branches. This is one branch that I like to play. Feel free to differ from this path if you like to. This one works with the affinities though. Goes like this. So we're picking up Famists and Glades, as you see there. Famists for Staves of Mist, making our supporters even more useful. We have a lot of use for supporters anyway, so that's pretty nice. We get the Mistlings, which are just amazing tier 3 skirmishers in any aspect. This is really a nice mana dump if you have ever too much mana. And Fey Touched here gives you exactly the ability to be just annoying when you are around Mist. You're hard to kill and you get random bonuses. Really good stuff. And the Fey Water Pond, well, it is more of a PvP thing. I don't know how the AI interacts with the Misty traits, the Universal Camouflage. Don't know. Didn't care too much about it, but I've heard it's quite OP. Tome of Glades is the other supplement that we're picking here. Several reasons. Aspect of the Root interacts with our entire cultural roster per se, giving us a nice healing ability. It's really a strong one. I love that. It gives us a tier 3 archer, replacing our tier 1 archers into something more powerful, and it gives us tier 3 shields, bolstering up our frontline more than enough to suffer for the entire game for us, because they're really hard to kill, really good to heal, and good receivers for buffs overall. We also gain some affinity for forests, which is not a bad thing at all, but yeah. If you build a lot of conduits, you can also crank out some extra city stability, which is always a nice thing. So, tier 3, we go straight up for amplification. This gives us amplified arrows, which is a godsend for our archers. I mean, we got frost arrows, amplified arrows. This is a pretty nice package. Frenzying focus for our battle mage department, giving them range, which is now... I don't know why this tome had to be buffed even further, but here we go. We are now strengthened and we get extra range on our battle mages. I love that. We also gain a couple of extra nice nukes. Astral Blood gives you good access to critical hits all over the board. It's pretty nifty. Amplify Minds, since we have a very good income of stability on the high culture, also a really good thing. You should really use these to crank out more knowledge. More knowledge is always good. And last but not least, Resonance Fields. It generates rare resources, namely world and world map casting and combat casting points. So if you can afford to build it, it's really amazing. The other tier 3 tome now, we have many options. Feel free to change that as you wish. I personally vote here for either teleportation to give you more tools and an amazing tier 4 shock unit. Seriously, face beasts are much better than you might think on the first glance. They're so hard to kill for a shock trooper. Good stuff. It also gives you a lot of safety skills for your battle mages, another heal spell, which is never a bad thing, and super early access to teleporters and sick synergy with your conduit and research post gameplay. The other variant, which I also see as extremely potent, is Tome of Cycles, because projectiles of decay. You see, we are already very heavily invested in all that backline damage, but this goes places. This applies to all of our backline. And decay is one of the most obnoxious conditions to suffer from, because it shuts you out of the healing department. You see, it's a little bit of your own taste to pick. The other things here are more versed around healing. The Druid of the Cycle is one interesting unit. I don't know what to think about them until the very day. I'm very, very torn about these. Personally, a bigger fan of the teleport tome, but choose to your own liking. Tier 4, obviously, we go directly to Stormborn. This brings us access to Lightning Storm, making the enemy wet and super susceptible to our damage. It is really, really bonkers what happens from this point on. Naga transformation, not a bad thing either. That fast movement is really, really powerful. The other traits here aren't bad either, but the fast movement is a real game changer. I can't overstate how much this changes your behavior on the whole map. Stormbringers, really badass skirmisher troops, and if you have province improvements, really, really good. Coastal province improvements, it's really, really good. The city stability penalty is neglectable. You get way more out of that, and yeah, storm ports are also a really nice mono source. The other tier 4 I vote for in this build would be Prosperity. You have all the affinities for it. You are already a little bit into the support enhancer side, and Staves of Grace makes your supporters in combination with Famists go really, really insane. Blessed Armor and Grand Protection makes your units obnoxiously hard to kill. Garden of Affluence is it's okay. It's not much to write home about, but the Prosperity Dragon is one insane battlefield buffer that I really, really like. You also gain access to a plethora of tier 2 to tier 4 units, which is not a bad thing either. So, top it off with either tome of your liking. This is pretty much the build. So, number 4, let's talk about armies and combat behavior. So, since we are playing high culture, we can pretty much utilize the entire roster here. You should recruit more towards Dusk Hunters than Dawn Defenders if you want to recruit tier 1 troops, because the Dawn Defenders are really not robust enough for their job. At the end of the day, you can use a Dusk Hunter much better in the later stages of the game than the Dawn Defender. Tier 2, you have really wonderful troops. Daylight Spears are very good damage dealers, and we got Evokers, White Witches for our Battle Mage needs. This is more AoE, this is more crowd control, and Sun Priests come with various healing capabilities and awakening all over the board. What's really important to note here is that once these troop types, Battle Mages and Supporters, are awakened, they trigger Distraction on your enemies, which makes them automatically get flanked when you attack them. So your culture is also a good fit for the sneaky trait to increase flanking damage. This is one thing, but I also want to say that this is something that you should really capitalize when you got access to this tier. So altogether, your frontline will be mostly composed out of Daylight Spears and Dawn Defenders in the early stages of the game. Once you gain access to the tier 3 Town Hall, you have an even better Battle Mage in form of the Awakener. The Exposing Light spell is really nutty, because this thing is just a nuke with extras, and I really love it. They also can awaken units as a free action, and they basically can replace all of your tier 2 roster battle mages, but the nifty thing about it is that your tier 2 battle mages will not so much fall off a cliff over the game because of the many enhancements that we got, and the strategical value of Freezing Blast and Electrifying Arc doesn't wear off anytime too quickly. But yeah, this build loves to upgrade their roster. Therefore, when you set up your roster, try to avoid spamming too many Dawn Defenders and Dusk Hunters, but if you have a few too many to spin, leave them at home for your Empire defense, for infestation attacks and the like. They serve there quite well, and when they eventually die, you don't have to worry about too much about it. Combat behavior is a very straightforward one. You are a formation fighter. The front, Spears, behind that Defenders and Sun Priests, behind that Battle Mages and Archers. Let the enemy come and give them hell when they're approaching. Heal up the damage that the enemy does onto your front line when they do the impact, and you're pretty much set. It's a very simple, nice variant where you really just need basically 3 spears, 3 shields, and you got yourself a massive front line. Bounce that out with the elemental units that you got, the plant units, that's more like it. The shield dudes out of this one are really your best front line, but once you have access to Aspect of the Root, fighting gets very easy in general. So, number 5, Cities and Imperium. So, your city building suffers from 2 things in general. You lack a little bit of production, and you just want to get everything done at once, and that is the biggest issue at hand. But besides that, you're really in a good spot. Try to get your cities close to water wherever you can, or rivers. Try to get the Storm Rune Steely down as quick as you can, because that amplifies the value of your provinces by a lot. As you can see here, this forester here is massively buffed by experienced seafarers, and the Storm Giant King's bonuses, it is quite something. And this is what you utilize a lot. Therefore, pay good attention to your access to water wherever you can, and expand your cities according to this criterion, because this is really where your culture shines. You're very water based, and if you ain't got no water, then you go for the classical markers of magic materials, landmarks, and wonders. These are the places where you want to build your cities generally. Imperium spending wise, we are on a very diplomacy and expansion heavy path. We got access to Shadow and Order, which gives us lots of Whispering Stones. Seriously, as you see here, 4 Whispering Stones. With Keepers of Knowledge, I had very early access to All Seeing. You can do a lot of nice shenanigans with that. You can also reduce the upkeep of your Magic Origin units. We got a couple of higher tiers that we can summon that can get quite costly, so that's quite nice. And we also gain good knowledge skills, whereas we can here gain a couple of boosters for a free city game and quicker leveling up of war. Cultural troops, which isn't so far nice because the high culture really gains a lot of high level units. And last but not least, the nature aspect here gives you good tools to grow faster, either by founding stronger cities or let your cities grow faster, which is both pretty nice. And expert sailors is, well, the River Countess Roads part is really massive. So there's also some goodies here. Guardian Spirit Wolf, always a good thing. So number 6, heroes. Like I said in the intro, a Storm Giant is a must-have for this build. I wouldn't want to play it without, because these fellas just generate even more advantages out of what you got. They hurl lightning, which is exactly what you want. And class-wise, well, I'm a little bit torn on that end. I personally, though, am a little bit more biased towards a warrior type of leader. But it's very close second to a mage burst type of leader, because just killing things very fast works for this build extremely well. But I must say, a dedicated frontliner, personally I prefer the warrior over the defender, but I think both work just fine, is a massive tool for your early game to clear out things very nicely and iron out the issue that the high culture doesn't have the best frontline units culturally in the game. The tier 2 spears are awesome, but they can't really tank a lot, and that's where a giant hero comes in handy very nicely. For the secondary hero slots, mages or ritualists, choose to your own liking. I think it's very much a playstyle dependent thing, but I must say this is a very open this build is an open invitation to burst it all down like crazy and leave only smolders behind, so don't play too defensively. It is really not necessary. So number 7, strategy. Obviously, we want to expand our empire as close to the water as possible, but as soon as that's done, you can pull off some military stunts if you want to. Your main interest is to build up your empire, terraform it, because you're very strong terraformer. That's very desirable to do. And you also want to develop and culture up your homeland, because you got some really good special province improvements. That means your cities also need a lot of room, so keep that into your calculations when you build your cities. The other thing about this build is that you really can topple over pretty much everything you want to in the early game. All you need to do is to mass produce a couple of archers, a couple of spears, a couple of sun priests, and maybe add a few battle mages. You have very early access to a very fast snowball, which you can use. I mean, I personally consider this to be one of the most broken and overpowered builds that I know in Age of Wonders generally, so you can really play around and have some fun with it from the get-go. It's just, since the giants got involved, the thing got even more broken. You know, in the old school, this lightning build at least had a weaker economy, but with the storm giants boons, experienced seafarers goes crazy with the storm steely. So you just basically place down a couple of cities, terraform them, watch your empire grow, stomp everything. It's really one hell of a build, and if you want to have a good time, which has a really easy thing, choose this. So, feel free to tell me what you think about it. Feel free to tell me what you would do differently about it. I'm all ears, because I see some leverage what you could do different on a certain ends. I'm very interested. So leave a like, leave a subscribe, consider also supporting the channel if you'd be so kind. It would really mean a lot to me. There's YouTube channel membership, there's donations. Feel free to go your own way. Lots of thanks to all of you who do. And a big thanks especially to you right here, right now, watching this video up until the very end. Appreciate you taking your time, and hope you had a good time, and see you on the next one.